Are you a new or returning player coming back into Battlefront 2 in 2025? Well, don't fear, because this is the series for you. Welcome to the How To series, where we break down every hero in Battlefront 2, from the dark side to the light side, from saber heroes to blaster heroes. This is the series for you. We will break down every single hero's star cards, abilities, general kit, and strengths and weaknesses. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video.
Well, hello everybody, my name is Swag and welcome back to the Battlefront 2 guides. I think I mentioned in the first ever guide I did, I don't exactly remember which video it was, I think it was in the Obi-Wan guide or the Anakin guide, was that once I finished all the Saber guides, depending on how the videos did, I might come back and finish off the guides by doing the Blaster heroes. And based on the reception of the Saber guides, they seem to do pretty well, so I'm thinking of basically finishing this whole entire thing off with the Blaster heroes. As always, if you find these guides helpful, feel free to like and sub. Also leave a comment down below if you want to see more guides, or tell me which next Blaster hero you want me to make a guide for. Currently I'm going to start with Boba. He is one of my favorite Blaster villains in the game, but also let me know, who you want to see next so that I can quickly make a guide on it and be right on top of the videos and keep busting them out. So let's start off with Boba, shall we? Starting off with his abilities, his left ability being his concussion rocket. Boba Fett fires a single concussion shot, dazing enemies caught in the blast and disabling their blaster for 1.2 seconds. Dazed heroes using lightsabers cannot follow their target while performing their lightsaber attacks. Concussion rocket is a very good ability, especially good for those aggressive blaster characters in HVV like Han Solo, Chewie, who can shoot you out the sky and disable your jetpack, or just in general Galactic Assault co-op modes where, there's a huge crowd of enemies. You can use a concussion rocket to just make the enemies not fire at you or your team for a while. So he's really good support in that way, where his concussion rocket can silence a room for a few seconds, letting your team be a bit more aggressive, and you can use it defensively to stop the enemy team from being aggressive on you. So this is a very good ability to have. It also blinds, so it's harder for the enemies to see you. So when you're getting chased by a lightsaber hero, you can escape fairly quickly because of the blind that the concussion rocket does. His E ability, For the Hunt. Enemies around Boba Fett are revealed for a short period of time to his whole team, during which Boba Fett disappears from the enemy radar and can utilize unlimited jetpack fuel. For the Hunt is an interesting ability. You can pair it with certain star cards to make it last longer, but basically the whole point of this ability is you get infinite jetpack for the duration, which is good. You also get to see enemies on the minimap, and you can see them through walls. They'll highlight up as yellow, so if you want to have wall hacks, you just pop this middle ability and you'll get that, and you're also not revealed on the map. Of course, with Boba's jetpack though, you can hear it quite easily on the enemy team, so that kind of whole thing where you're not revealed on the map is kind of pointless when the jetpack is really loud. Overall, it's a great ability if you want to cover distance from one side of the map to the other by just flying across, because Boba can fly a really great distance to get to certain objectives or just get to the other side of the map really quickly. So using For the Hunt is great for that. Finally, his right ability, Rocket Barrage. A hail of small rockets is launched from Boba Fett's gauntlet. I believe he shoots 5 rockets from his wrist. Generally, Rocket Barrage is a nice thing to have. You can insta-kill troopers, heavies, pretty much anyone. The issue is you need the Rocket Barrage to be focused on a single point. If you start spreading these Rocket Barrages out to different targets, one rocket is not going to kill an enemy. I think you need 2 or 3 rockets to kill a single trooper, and then slightly more to kill a heavy. So if you're starting to spread each rocket out onto different enemies, you're not going to insta-kill any of them. You need to focus on a sole point where you're aiming at so that you can get those insta-kills. It also takes a while for Rocket Barrage to fully shoot, so you're going to be stuck there in that animation for about 3 seconds-ish, which can leave you vulnerable to other enemies who may be looking your way, and so forth. Another neat thing about Rocket Barrage is that it can go through lightsaber blocks. So if you're getting chased by Luke or Anakin or whoever and they're just blocking at you, which is what most saber characters do, you can use Rocket Barrage to just aim at their feet and you will do a lot of damage. So overall, his kit is pretty damn good. He has a few support plays that he can do. He can cover distance very well, and he has an ability that makes him do damage, which also goes through block. That is pretty neat. But why don't we go over his cards? What are the right cards to use? And we're just going to dive into each one in great detail. Quick refill. Boba Fett's jetpack fuel refills faster when not being used. If you are someone who loves traveling in the sky, like going across the map very quickly, or you generally like to escape from positions which could be a disadvantage to you, like maybe you're in a bad spot, etc., this card can be really nice to have. Obviously, you're going to use your jetpack to escape, and generally you want to be flying a lot with Boba as well, to reach certain angles and spots and so forth. So getting quick refill to get your jetpack fuel back faster allows you to reach these positions, maybe engage in fights more to make yourself a little bit harder to hit, especially when you're dashing in the sky. It can be really nice to have to make you fly a little bit longer and just get back into the action faster. So this is a very good card to have for traveling, for offense and defense as well. Born to Fly. Boba Fett's ability cooldowns are faster while in the air, but his health regeneration starts 1.5 seconds later. Once again, a similar aspect to if you like going in the sky a lot more. If you're someone who likes to travel, who likes to engage in fights in the sky, this card will be good to have, because that means you can use your abilities more while you're in the sky. You can use a concussion more, you can use your wrist rockets more, which lets you be more offensive as Boba in the sky. But the issue comes in with the health regen. 1.5 seconds isn't necessarily a lot, but it can be crucial when, I don't know, you're getting blitzed by a whole enemy team and you need to escape very fast, and having that health regen is nice when it comes in handy. So you are sacrificing a little bit of health regen delay for the extra offense. So it completely depends on your playstyle. I think this card is very nice to have though, just because of the offense capabilities that you can get in the sky. Extended exposure. For the hunt reveals enemies for a longer duration. If you recall a few minutes ago when I talked about the middle ability, it allows you to fly forever until the duration runs out. It makes you invisible on the minimap, and it also highlights enemies through walls. You get wall hacks basically. So having a longer duration for that can be nice. This can be a very nice offensive ability to have as well. Just like I said, you get wall hacks. So you get wall hacks now for a longer duration of 6 added seconds. You also get to fly longer. Basically, all the benefits that we stated before when we mentioned that for the hunt ability, you now get that for a longer duration of time, which is a benefit in general. So the offense capabilities, the visual capabilities you can get with the wall hacks, they get increased even more. So this is a great card to have. Acute concussion. Concussion rockets will concuss enemies for a longer duration. As we mentioned before when we talked about the concussion rockets ability, being able to stun, blind, disable the weapons for a longer duration helps out a lot, because the benefits of having concussion rockets is good for both offense and for defense. If you want to run away, if you want to push forwards, if you want to disable certain heroes who have really strong blasters like Chewie or Han, that lets you be more offensive and lets you play a little bit smarter. But you don't want to get overly cocky and just completely aggro the enemy team, because concussion rocket might not be able to disable all the different troopers and heroes that are in the area. So it has a very limited range of the area of effect. So you got to keep in mind who glows. When you do hit someone with a concussion rocket, they will highlight as white. Like there will be a white outline on the person that you've hit with the concussion rockets. If you see that there's people around you who have not glowing that white color that you shot the concussion rocket into, that means they have not been hit by the concussion rocket. They are not blinded, their weapons have not been disabled, so you got to think about that in the moment as well. And you don't really have a lot of time to think as well. You only get 2 extra added seconds of concussion rockets, so you need to think fast when you're doing it, and you need to plan, do you want to run away or do you want to push? That's what you need to think about. So be cautious when you have this card and really think about how you want to strategize in those modes. Augmented gear. If concussion rockets hits several enemies, Boba Fett's jetpack does not consume fuel for a short time. I don't really think this card is that interesting. You can do like an infinite flying glitch. Oh, I say infinite flying glitch. You can fly infinitely with certain star cards, and you can use augmented gear to do this. I think you use augmented gear, extended exposure, and acute concussion, which allows you to basically basically fly up to max height forever. And if you want to do that and like have a few clips of that, go for it. In general gameplay, is this card good? Not really. I wouldn't play into this card too much. Having no fuel consumption can be nice because you can fly longer, which means you can probably play into Born to Fly and use your ability sooner. But if you hit someone with your concussion rocket and you are low on jetpack fuel, that means when you land, you're going to be out of fuel and you're going to be defenseless until you fully recharge your fuel back up. So when you're landing, you need to land at a very safe place as far away from enemies or you've got obstacles in the way. Because if you land in the open and you've got no jetpack fuel when this augmented gear card runs out, you're going to get blitzed. Boba on the floor is not great, and especially in the open, you're just going to get shot like a practice dummy. So when you do use this card in a game, you need to be careful of where you land. It happens for all Boba players in general, but it's just something that you need to prioritize a bit more with this card because you're going to be flying for longer. If you pop a concussion when you've got no fuel, when you land you are going to have no fuel. It doesn't recharge while you're in the sky, so just try and think of where you're landing and prioritize that. Fuel efficiency. Boba Fett's jetpack fuel burns slower when flying. A card that also plays into Boba's jetpack. Not necessarily something I would play into too much just because, oh, I mean you could if you want to go for like a full jetpack build where you do quick refill and fuel efficiency. I suppose that could be a nice thing for you to do. There's not really too much to say about this card except that you would probably prioritize more offensive cards over this instead of full stacking into a jetpack build. So that's sort of my advice from someone who's played Boba. Intense Barrage. If Rocket Barrage deals more than 500 damage to enemies for one activation, its cooldown time is reduced for the next usage. Just to reference a few damage numbers that we've got here. One single rocket from Boba does 75 damage. And if he shoots 5 of those, you just have to multiply by 5, he does 375 damage total. So you're not actually going to be able to reach this without combining this with another card, which would be Focalize. Anyway, the point is, for you to be able to reach that 500 damage, you will need to focus all your rockets onto one single target generally, and you want to be as accurate as possible by aiming at their feet. The issue with this Intense Barrage is, if you're using it on one trooper, you're not going to be able to get the cooldown reduction because they die in 2 or 3 rocket hits, so you won't be able to reach the 500 damage number. The exception is if you hit a group of enemies with one activation. Those are the only exceptions of how you're going to be able to reach the 500 damage and get that cooldown reduction. Otherwise, if you're hitting 1 or 2 people, they're just going to insta-die and you won't be racking up those damage numbers with your rockets, so you won't be able to get the cooldown reduction. So good for HVV game modes and good for generally hitting it with... It's good if you're hitting a large group of enemies, but usually, you know, people are very spread out, so it's going to be very hard for you to be able to get a group hit with that rocket, basically. So this card doesn't get activated too much, but when it does, it is nice to have. Death from above. Boba Fett takes less damage when using Rocket Barrage while flying with his jetpack. So when you are using his jetpack in the sky and while you have his Rocket Barrage active, you take less damage. Damage reduction generally is good. I've always said this before. However, this one is only restricted to his Rocket Barrage in the sky. So once the Rocket Barrage is finished, his damage reduction instantly disappears. So it's not too great when you're not using Rocket Barrage, but it's nice to use when you do have Rocket Barrage. But there's a lot of moving pieces to this card that can make it quite complicated. And once again, similar to the Intense Barrage card, it's going to be kind of hard to activate and kind of utilize this too much because it's restricted to you flying and you using Rocket Barrage. So take that with a grain of salt. Finally, Focalize. Rocket Barrage's rocket deals bonus damage at the center of the explosion in a 1 meter radius. So when you upgrade this to the purple card, where you'll be doing 10 extra damage, as I said before, you do 75 damage, so plus the 10 bonus damage, you will do 85 damage now. Times by 5, you do 425 damage now. So if you combine this card with Intense Barrage, you're almost able to get the 500 damage. But once again, this card, you need to use it in a group, but this card will sort of let you get that 500 damage a little bit quicker, and you're more likely to get the 500 damage because you now got the bonus damage. If you're shooting it at a group, you're hitting loads of targets, you're getting the extra damage, you're doing 85 damage now per hit. Very likely to be getting this card active, which now allows you to get the cooldown reduction a lot more sooner. So these two combo with each other very nicely. Alright, and those were all the cards for Boba. Now that we've completed this section of explaining everything, now we're going to go over what cards to use for HVV, co-op, and so forth. Starting with HVV, what cards would we like to use for HVV? Generally for his playstyle, I like to play Boba as Legends Boba Fett from the comics. I don't like to play far away and snipe with Boba. That's not who I like to play Boba as. We play him as Legends Boba, we get up close and personal, we flip and razzle and dazzle and twirl all around the enemies and fly around them. So, what combos could we do? Well, Intense Barrage and Focalize do work well together, especially on heroes, very likely to be able to get the 500 damage now. If the heroes are grouped together, this will work. If you're doing it on a single hero though, you won't be able to get this damage, because you'll only be able to do 425, which means you're not going to be getting Intense Barrage to activate, but you'll only be getting the extra damage from Focalize. But you can also go through block, so Rocket Barrage would be nice to have. Don't really want Death from Above, Fuel Efficiency is not kind of my jig. Don't really need For the Hunt in hero modes. Honestly, I would say Acute Concussion, just because we're trying to play into the concussions a bit more. Focalize for the extra damage that you can get with your Rocket Barrage, which goes through blocks, and maybe some sort of jetpack card like Quick Refill, Born to Fly, just to let you be more offensive and then spam more concussion rockets and rocket barrages more. Honestly, probably Born to Fly, Acute Concussion, and Focalize. That would be a killer combo for maximum offense with Boba. Don't really think you should have any priority in flying and having these cards open, unless you like to fly around your opponents and sort of just razzle and dazzle, which fair enough. So you could do something like Fuel Efficiency, Extended Exposure, just to let you fly longer with your middle ability, and maybe Augmented Gear if you just want to keep flying around and do some nutty stuff there. So those are the HVV stuff and the dueling cards out the way. What about for those trooper modes? Galactic Assault, Co-op, Supremacy, so on. What can we do? Well, Focalize with Intense Barrage works very nicely together. Grouped up enemies are not going to last with your Rocket Barrage, so do kill them with these cards. You could technically do Death from Above if you really want to spec into those wrist rockets. These three cards down here are quite good to have if you're going to be spamming the rockets quite a lot. In fact, talking about spamming, you may want to do Born to Fly, Death from Above, and maybe Intense Barrage to really stack into that, getting the cooldown reduction into your Rocket Barrage, taking less damage, or if you really don't care about taking too much damage, you could do Born to Fly, Intense Barrage, and Focalize to solidify the chances of you getting an Intense Barrage to proc. And obviously while you're flying, now you get the cooldown reduction as well, so you can really spam this build quite a bit into those wrist rockets. If you want to go for the Infinite Fly build, which is I think Augmented Gear, Extended Exposure, and Acute Concussion, sure, why not? I don't really think there's anything else really to use for those trooper modes. If you want the wall hacks, you can go for Extended Exposure. Acute Concussion can be nice to have if you want to play into that as well. Or if you find that you run out of some sort of jetpack fuel, maybe you're using your fuel too much, or you just want to recharge it sooner, you can use either Fuel Efficiency or Quick Refill for whatever one of those problems are. And that is pretty much it. Boba Fett, the first Hero Blaster of the day, and he is in a pretty good damn state. I know a lot of people who play HVV modes with Boba tend to run away a lot. Don't do that. Play him like Legends Boba, get up close and personal, and enjoy the character, because Boba is definitely my favorite character in this game, and I want you guys to enjoy him at his full potential. Now that we've got to the end of the guide, I want to thank you guys so much for sticking through till the very end, for every last second. while you're here, why not like and sub, and leave a comment down below for which hero you would like to see me make a guide for next. Do you want me to do a villain, or do you want me to do a hero, so forth, whatever you guys want to pick. Whoever gets the most likes on the comments, I will do. And yeah, thank you guys once again for sticking through to the very end, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.